Okay, you guys, hello. Starting from last night where we were so rudely interrupted. Here is that email again. I got a comment in my video saying that that they got the same email, but it didn't look like that. So I'm going to open it right here. So let's see, I'll do it right. Let's see. I have to look beyond my camera. Sorry about that. So here we go. I don't know if this is what you all got, but look, they personally, Pence versus Trump. Here's the email. When I debated crooked Hillary, all that, Joe Biden, da 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 da. So they want you to get your name displayed live. I don't know why that is, but so that's the email. It goes on to show Trump, and it goes down here to contribute. This will be a huge moment for our nation. I really want you to be part of it. So there you go. So I was just trying to decipher that a little bit. Okay, so in this email, we're talking about the code, the decode of record breaking. Why would they highlight that? So then I saw, of course, there's many other scrambling word, situations you can make, but this is adrenergic bork. So adrenergic means, so working on adrenaline, and most of us know that a high level of adrenaline for a long period of time is not a good situation for our health or our immune system. So that's what we're all kind of in the middle of right now with all this emergency situation going on. Whoops, sorry. Oh wow, so I had this wrong. Listen to this saying adrenergic.
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 All right, so relating to or denoting nerve cells, adrenaline, okay. Oh shoot, sorry about that. So the Bork definition is to cause to malfunction, especially computer hardware or software. Installing updates in the wrong order will bork all your saved games. That's kind of weird, huh? Anyhow, with Windows and the computers and all that and gates, it's kind of all fallen together. And sorry, you guys, if I sound disgusted, it's because I am. I'm disgusted by what's going on with this government. But anyhow, so we keep going from record-breaking 100,000 American names displayed for the entire nation to see. So entire nation to see, entertain Thai news. I see this too. A19 tortoise. I thought that was weird because the number 19 has come up quite a bit. So I looked, when I Googled A19 tortoise, the word shellback came up. And this is interesting. This is an old book by Alex J. Boyd. The only reason why, look at this, I just want to show you this. So here you get the book on Amazon, the Shellback, and let's see, AED, so, well, okay, so it's not that high then. So 129 AED equals 3511. Look at that number. All right, so that's not that bad. So if you bear with me, I wanted to read a little bit of this to you. I found it kind of interesting. So it's going to be a few pages of this reading. So it's Cornell University Library. Can't really make that out. Blank page. Carnell, the Shellback. The Shellback, or at sea in the 60s. Let's try to get this focused. So it says there's no known copyright restrictions in the US on use of the text. And here's where you can go see the archive details. So here's something interesting. Nunquam dormio. Nunquam dormio, and sorry if I'm not pronouncing this right, but Latin is I never sleep. That's interesting. So this is interesting. Images of Nunquam dormio, however you say that. 1866, that's a football, soccer. Looks like the C9 to me. So this shows the year 1899. That could be 999. I'm just saying. So I'm only going to read just some parts of this introduction, and I will leave the link to this PDF that you can read. Here's some of the content though. Sailor's chantry. At sea under the stars and stripes, we lose our first mate, we ship a Yankee mate. A taste of the cat, the ancient mariner, among some. So introduction. A few who have not felt the hot flesh of shame and helpless resentment arising from unnameable insult, who have not known the conflict of hunger and shivering disgust incident to the eating of putrid food, who have not been beaten, starved, deprived of sleep, and houndless at useless work until self-respect and manhood become abstractions. In short, few besides slaves, Siberian exiles, and merchant sailors who know the possibilities in human savagery may read this book without doubting the author's veracity, without wondering if the atrocious torture described herein could ever have been inflicted under the American flag by Americans upon men of their own race and language. To answer and forestall such doubt and wonder, this introduction is written, and it is written by one who knows, one who will carry to his grave scars of brass knuckles and belaying pins, who will suffer to the end of the ineradicable taint in his veins of scurvy, whose stature has been shortened by torturing labor in childhood, whose soul will be held while he lives by a hatred of oppression and tyranny born, not merely of altruistic sympathy, but of his own suffering, and in this lies his desire to speak and his claim to consideration. It is a pity that this book is not written up to date, that it cannot tell of the hellship of today as it does of the hellship of the 60s, for since that time matters have not improved. Flogging has been abolished by law, but the knuckle duster and belaying pin, the heaver and the hand spike remain. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, and it says, and men broken and disfigured for life who seek redress in courts that will not convict. Today, 30 years after the period of which this book speaks, the terms Yankee ship and hell ship are synonymous, in the lofty, graceful, beautiful triumph of the shipbuilder's art, which carries the stars and stripes to all ports of the earth. Let's see, where am I? Sorry, I lost my... Is avoided and feared by the sailors of all nations as the worst found, worst manned vessel that floats, and is known to those who know as the theater of inhuman barbarity that cannot be paralleled in the regime of any oriental depot now alive. Skipping forward a little, it says, leaving aside legal possibilities under the existing methods of procedure are futile, the question naturally arises, Why do men in the majority submit to such terrible minority rule? Why may not this question be settled by those involved instead of becoming a problem for the attention of lawmakers and reformers? Why must 20 men living in the forward end of a ship submit to the tyranny of a quarter of their number who live in the after end? The reason is hidden and but partly shown in the iron-hard traditions of seafaring which date from the days of the Phoenician galley, when the only sailors were slaves who pulled at their oars until they died, and were then, as has been said, chopped in pieces and passed out the portholes. These traditions descended through the ages of militant seamanship, when sailors were armed to find, I'm finding my place here. Sailors were armed to fight an enemy and hanged from the yard arm for disobedience of orders. They are in full force today in the navies of the world, and as an insubordinate or deserting man of war's man is punished with the severity accorded to criminals. These traditions reach the merchant marine, and a sailor who wishes to quit work may do so only at the loss of the money due him, and in a foreign port at the risk of imprisonment as a malefactor. Okay, so there we have masters and mates of merchant ships today who seem to regard their positions as sacred by divine right, as though the divinity of kings surrounded and protected them. They may insult a seaman with an insult that would bring them instant death in a border town, and should the seaman protest, he invites an authorized blow. Should he return this or attempt to, he is a mutineer, and mutineers may be shot, and the murder is sanctioned by the law of a free country. So much for the ethical reasons of a sailor's submission to minority rule. But strong as it is, there is a stronger behind it. The sailor is practically at a physical disadvantage. In a crew of 20 men, there are not usually as much as 4 who are of equal size, courage, and intelligence to the weakest of the afterguard, for this is always attended to in the picking of the crew. Sheathed knives are confiscated or the points are broken off when the crew joins the ship, while the mates regard revolvers as tools of their trade, and the captains put strong faith in double-barreled shotguns loaded with buckshot. Okay, I skipped a couple paragraphs, and that continues to say, were American ships manned by native-born American sailors, they could do much, far short of mutiny. Let me get this picture straight. To extract consideration from captains and mates, but they are not. There are few American sailors afloat, so partly from necessity, partly from the captain's choice, the forecastle of an outbound American ship is filled with a mixed crew, hardly any 3 of which are of the same nationality. And this is the crew that is wanted. Let the seaports be canvassed and the crew gathered together, the best of able seamen, strong, sober, intelligent, respectful, and self-respecting men, and it is safe to say that an American shipmaster would refuse them if they were all of one nationality. The reason is plain. He could not safely ill-treat them, and he would not dare the experiment of treating them well. It is the cowardice of despotism. But provided he has able officers to lick them into shape, he will not hesitate to take his valuable ship and cargo to sea with a heterogeneous crew representing the maritime nations of the earth, among whom only a few may speak English, and carefully chosen by himself are the crimps, not for their seamanly qualities, but for their weaknesses, their underdevelopment, stupid faces, and diverse nationality, for he knows that this crew will be too occupied with mutual spites and jealousies to combine and resist oppression. Do you hear that? Again, it's kind of like a divided, keep the people divided, and you don't have to worry about them rising up against your oppression. Let's see, what does this say? Now for the other end of the physical equation, in England, where sailors are protected and educational qualifications demanded, and before a sailor may sign as an officer, he must pass an examination and receive a certificate. But in American ships, when considerations of friendship or family relationship do not contribute, a sailor is promoted for the breadth of his shoulders and the size of his fists. Any able seaman can do a third or second mate's work, and already brutalized by ill treatment, he remains so and pays his debt of tyranny to those beneath him. He may learn enough of navigation to eventually command a ship, but he cannot escape the traditions which made him a brute, and he does his share towards perpetuating them. I'm just wondering if any of this sounds familiar. And he is conscientious in his savagery. He thinks he is right, and if remonstrated with by, I don't know what that cut out or something, by a passenger or something, or other humane onlooker, his pained amazement would be ludicrous, were it not so abhorrent. For though he may be naturally the kindest of men in his dealings on shore, a lover of children and animals, he cannot comprehend that a number of human beings living in a forecastle, who are employed merely to handle a ship and keep her in repair, may be held at work without insult and cruelty. The terrible etiquette of the slave grips his soul and limits his understanding. Is there a remedy? Yes, several, but power of one generation to apply. Yes, several, but power of one generation to apply. England is solving the problem by educating her officers, but in educational standards such as I can't remember, see what that says there. It's kind of a blank. Such as a she requires of second mates, suddenly enforced in this country, would disqualify most commanders and officers of American sailing ships, for it is generally conceded that very few of them can do more than take meridian observations and find longitude by chronometer sights. Were the laws now on our statute books rigidly enforced, a large majority of American captains and mates would be sent to the penitentiary, and not a few to the gallows or electric chair. These two remedies would paralyze our small but growing commerce, and no thinking, observing man may hope for their application. The vast moneyed interest at stake would rise up and forbid it. A law directed at the fountainhead, the ship owner's pocket, would work wonders of reform if it could be passed and enforced. But if our courts will not protect a sailor from torture, starvation, and murder, how may he hope to obtain damages? We must wait. The establishment in every seaport of school ships, and in view of our coming commerce, this will be found necessary, where boys may be taught seamanship and navigation without becoming dehumanized by suffering, and the extension of the cadet system now in force abroad mail steamers will in time, as the present generation of brutes die off or retire, place upon our quarter-deck officers who have no debt to pay, and fill our forecastles with men who have none to acquire. This will eliminate the hell ship. And there are some of those who know, some of those who may read this volume without wonder and doubt, who are looking forward in the bitterness of their souls to a more certain remedy, the final abolition of the sailing ship. For surely as the American sailor is being driven from the sea because unfitted to survive in a slave's environment, so surely must the sailing ship disappear in a competition with steam. That's by Morgan Robertson. Anyhow, I thought this was sort of interesting because I also found this. These are kind of interesting, huh? The Ancient Order of the Deep, Trusty Shellback. And look at that Neptune 3-prong thing. Hey, remember when I mentioned the 3-prong, the 3 branches? Remember when I talked about infrastructure was trifurcate? Trifurcate urns was infrastructure. And this trifurcate divided into 3 branches or forks. 3 branches or forks. There's your little 3 forks there. Little Neptune looking thing. Here's another little shellback, Trusty Shellback. Domain of Neptunus Rex. Looks kind of Irish, Slavic or Ancient Order of the Deep. Herald Sea Irish. Mysteries of the Realm of the Raging Main. Another Trusty Shellback. Oh, by order of Neptunus Rex. This one says USS Darter in the Great War of the United Nations against the Axis. The Axis, there appeared within our royal domain. Another Trusty Shellback. Anyhow, Ancient Order of the Deep. And I found this one, New World Order. I'm going to look into that. I just thought that's interesting. Did you guys ever hear about the Trusty Shellbacks? I just wanted to show you guys this. Look at that common, looks like an eye. It also looks like a little bit of an owl in there. They love the owls. The Ancient Plan of Secret Societies. We just can't get enough of this, can we? Here's some of the content. I'm just going to read a little bit of this and then leave a link, but I think you might need to sign in to get access to this. So, and this is part of the free, I don't know, I'll leave you the link. So this book shows how an ancient plan has been hidden for centuries deep within secret societies. This scheme is designed to bring all of mankind under a single world government, a new world order. Kind of like they're doing it now, huh? They're tearing us down to build in what they want. So anyhow, this plan is of such antiquity that its result is even mentioned in the Bible. The rule of the Antichrist mentioned in the revelation of Saint John the Divine. Personally, I think the powers who be actually wrote the Bible, and they're manipulating people to believe and follow their little plans. Other works on the subject do not trace the plan beyond the founding of one of the most notorious of these secret societies, the German Illuminati, founded in 1776. Wow, wasn't that here in the United States? Other works fail to see any continuity between the New World Order and secret societies at all. Still others don't connect the ancient secret societies to the modern versions. I do. This book shows what the secret societies are what they're after and how they're going about it. It shows the symbols and the emblems of these groups have leapt down through the ages, subtly marking the path of their descendants. This book shows why members of these secret societies can participate in something which will obviously lead to world despotism. It shows how their own members are tricked by them. It reveals enough of the secret rituals to establish credibility even with the most ardent members of these groups. Most importantly, the book demonstrates the profound influence secret societies have on historical events through the centuries, their influence in the present day, and how they can be thwarted in the future. Ooh, we need that information. Among secret societies, I have focused primarily on Freemasonry or Masonry because it's the largest, oldest, and best document of these groups. So the next page says this book is not primarily about Masonry. however, but an ancient plan for the world conquest. Most Masons who are aware of it sincerely believe that this great plan will somehow usher in. Now, I know we've heard about the plan, and if you look at the Q movement, it's trust the plan. Everything's about the plan. Anyhow, we're going to go look into this book. I should read this. This is where their new world order is taking us. And unless we realize from whence the danger comes, our ability to oppose it will be unfocused and therefore ineffective. That's why we have to open people's eyes and let them see the whole, kind of the bigger picture. This talks about the Nixon coup. This person talks about their father being in the Air Force, and he was a military defense communication networks officer. Yeah, and it talked about what's kind of going on now too. This person writes, "My father was dumbfounded by the suggestion that a coup was afoot. They've been trying this for a long time, I guess. Fortunately, he was able, I can't read what that word says, to conceal his shock long enough to learn some of the details from his associate, Mr. Josephson." Okay, guys, so I'm going to keep reading through this. If I find something fun, which I'm sure there's enough, I'll share it later. But it just continues. So hang on, I'm going to go back to that other page. Oh yeah, so with these shellbacks, what I saw also was they have a thing called line crossing ceremony, which I kind of decoded a little bit. Morning only secrecies, Nor's gory inclemency, sorrows encircling enemy, energy men or SOS clinic. Anyhow, that's so closing here. History is an account mostly false of events mostly unimportant, which are brought about by rulers mostly knaves and soldiers mostly fools. I thought that was interesting. But this line crossing ceremony. Here's a polywog or shellback Navy lines crossing ceremony. Order of Neptune. Ceremony observes a mariner's transformation from a slimy polywog. So hang on. Okay, so this is very strange. This veteransunited.com network, the Navy's line crossing ceremony revealed. Now they basically say when you cross the equator that you've did your line crossing thing, but